What you are listening to is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in the squared circle. Both parties have agreed to dismiss their cases and have their disputes settled here in our forum, the Turnbuckle Debate.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Turnbuckle Debate. My name is Sneed.
I'm Chad.
I'm Tom, the OG figure, the staple of the Turnbuckle Debate.
And I'm young Anthony.
That's all that needs to be said.
That's all that needs to be said. What else do you need to say?
He's here.
I got to say something. I was looking it up today because I was curious when you first appeared on a show. And it was almost 11 months to the day. It was July 5th last year.
No
Wow.
Shit. With us. It was episode number 35. And I'm pretty sure as soon as you signed off, me and the Chad said, we need to get that kid.
Oh, yeah.
Things on the tavern.
That was an immediate
And
thing.
I think that wasn't like very soon after that. Well, I don't know how soon after the debate, but I know like you had reached out to him for the SmackDown recap.
Yeah, we started doing a SmackDown show, and we all joke around here. We make fun of each other. It's all in good fun and games. But dude, like, you're so talented at what you do. You're like a major part here. We see everything else you're doing outside of here now. Like, you're going places, and it's so awesome to watch you develop. And
He's the new Mean Gene, dude. He's the new Mean Gene.
New Mean Gene. I like that. I'm thank you. I appreciate that. I'm happy that it's almost hitting almost that 1 year. It's hard to believe it like flew
Maybe
by,
I'll
but like
see you up in the Okerlund position one day. I wouldn't be
the
shocked.
Okerlund
I wouldn't
position.
either.
love
I
that.
really
Not at
wouldn't.
all.
Thank you guys for having me on. I'm so
The
excited
answer.
for this.
The answer.
The answer. Gotta get my sunglasses. Where too late.
Anthony, tell everybody, you do the RAWDOWN here at the tavern, but just kind of catch everyone up that may not know all the stuff you have going on.
Yeah. Last time I've been on the debate, a lot of different things are happening. So obviously, we do the RAWDOWN here at the tavern, number one source for all things WWE. It's myself, J-Bone, Marco, and now Tom, who is unfortunately our champion. He's sticking around. He's going to have to stick around. He's got to,
unless he doesn't show up.
The rain
show up
back to back.
But yeah, since I've been here, I started up what I call the Independent Epicenter. And basically what that is I like to consider it like a link between myself and independent wrestling companies that I can kind of fill in the blanks of what's kind of lacking for a lot of indie wrestling companies. And that's kind of like on the digital media side, social media, promotion, doing all that for them. So I do a lot of interviews, hype packages, promos, post and pre-shows. So I do a lot for different companies, and I'm open to working with anyone. Right now, I'm working with two companies right now. One of them is We Are Wrestling. It's based in New Jersey. And the one that I'm very active with is Invictus Pro Wrestling. They have to be like one of the top companies in the New York, New Jersey area. They have some phenomenal work. I do the Invictus Fallout for them, which is basically their post show. And even now that they're going to be on hiatus for the summer, I still have some kind of plans in the works, some docu-series type things. So I'm keeping busy with it, but it's definitely I told the guy I'm working with for Invictus, like, it's a dream come true to really do this. Like, even if it's on a smaller scale, like, to be able to work with a wrestling company, like, how many times can you say that? So it's epic. I'm so happy that I'm able to do something like this.
Watch out, Sam Roberts.
That's awesome, man.
Dude, you need to. I was thinking about you today with as I was listening to RAWDOWN and you were plugging the Epicenter with like Invictus Pro. One company in the New York area you should kind of like reach out to. I bet you could do something for them, get your feet in the door. There is House of Glory, man. Hog.
Yeah.
They're doing a ton of their production's getting big. Like they're doing something up there.
Yeah, there's a lot of wrestlers from Invictus that come over to or from House of Glory. Like Ken Broadway's one of them. He's a big name over there. So yeah, definitely House of Glory. And honestly, I'm really open to working with any companies across the nation, because it's like, although I can't be there in person, I can still make those videos for them. And it's so easy, especially now in this like digital age, that you could just make a video for people that you never met before, like we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, be able to have that connection with people. So, I mean, to anyone listening, if there's any independent wrestling companies that you would want to see me work with, I mean, let me know and I'll shoot a message to them and we'll get something going.
Yeah, man.
Got a couple here.
Yeah.
Possibly.
ASW.
Conquest. Yeah.
Hook me up. Hook me up.
Yeah, man. Exciting stuff. Go follow. Where are you mainly doing your stuff through now, Anthony? Are you doing it through the Indie Epicenter? Are you still doing it through Titantron?
It's mainly through the Epicenter at this point. You can follow it. It's on Instagram and Twitter. Both are Indie Epicenter. I'm sure it'll be in the description below. But a lot of the videos that I make, the companies directly post it. My social medias are just to like direct you to those videos itself. So yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet. Well, speaking of entertaining, I think it's time that we get to the task at hand. We got 3 new topics to debate. We all know the format here. You guys ready to get to it?
Let's do it.
Let's go. All right.
Go.
First topic of the evening. Did Cody Rhodes' Hell in a Cell performance affect his legacy? Because as we all know, he wrestled Hell in a Cell. He had the torn pec. So did it affect his legacy?
I don't see how it did. And I see people who've been hating on Cody giving him props after that. People saying, forget everything I've ever said about the guy. Like, that's a tough mother effort to go out there and to roll, even just to roll off of a table when Seth Rollins is coming at him off the top rope, to do it in time. Like, we've all been injured, like hurt a back, hurt a neck. You can't roll out of bed as fast as he rolled off that table. And I can't imagine what he felt that day. Like the passion, the wrestling that he bleeds just shined through that night. It was an amazing match that he went out there and had. I mean, it added to it that, of course, that he had the torn pec and his whole side was freaking purple, but oh my God.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, you know, you just go and watch the match. And I was talking about it on RAWDOWN the other day. Like, to me, this is up there with the match with Dustin as Cody's best match because of so many other reasons than it just being like what happened in the ring. You know, taking everything into consideration, the situation he was in where he had to wrestle with a torn pec. I mean, how many times can you say that's happened? You know, it just absolutely enhanced his legacy. And I think it's also important to look at the other side of this, that this also did a lot to enhance Seth's legacy as well. And I know this is kind of off topic, but like, you really go and watch the match and you look at every little detail that happened. And Seth is so fantastic in this spot. He's the perfect guy to go up against Cody in this situation, because Seth is like a master at being able to, you know, see the strengths and weaknesses of his opponent and be able to not only let himself shine in that position, but also let his opponent shine, right? Like, Cody's right pec was torn. Seth was working the left side the entire match. I think that is so just a mastermind of like, it really shows how great Seth is in the ring, how careful he was with Cody. But, you know, getting back on the topic of Cody, like you just, the passion that you had there. And a lot of people said, you know, they shouldn't let him wrestle. And, you know, you can make a lot of different arguments for that. But the fact that it did happen and the way that it happened, I think absolutely it helped out his legacy, enhanced it more than any regular match could have.
Yeah, I agree. I think it definitely enhanced his legacy. Admittedly, I'm not a big WWE fan. I did watch. The match was great. And I agree with what you said. Seth Rollins does do a great job in the spot of taking care of him and making sure that it's not something that is going to be aggravated, or, you know, they do it, I guess, the best that they can. I guess a question that I had, I mean, I'll let Chad go too, but does this set a precedent though throughout the wrestling world, like wrestling injured like that? Like, does that set a bad precedent?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I just think he was main event in a pay-per-view. If it was any other time, I don't think they would have let him go through with it. And they gave him the option to back out. They said you don't have to do it. I think it was just because of the circumstance.
Yeah.
Any other wrestler in that position, Vince would have said no. I think the only reason he got to do it is because he's the new belle of the ball. You know, like Vince spent all of this money, brought him in. He has obviously a little more wiggle room than most guys. He's coming in and saying pro wrestling. He's nodding to things that Vince, we know, shies away from. So he's obviously got a little bit more stroke than some of the other guys. And I think it's one of those things where Cody pushed to go in there. I really feel like he knew the spot they were in that close to the event for him to back out. I think that would have hurt this return, like truly set him back, because you're looking at an injury where unless they trot him out like Stone Cold Steve Austin and keep him relevant through promo work and stuff like that, you know, if he sits on the shelf for 2 or 3 months after coming back, that's when you're going to get a few of those negative boo birds coming in saying, back to the mid card for Cody. Oh, his push got stopped, blah, blah. You're going to start hearing that. But to the original question, I think this is going to be one of those matches 20, 30 years from now that is going to be remembered. Mm-hmm. Not so much that it's this 5-star match, although I do think the match was really good. I think it's by far the best match he's had in WWE. I think it's, well, like Anthony, I think the overall, maybe not even the storytelling within the match, but the overall outside the rope story with the match, going in with the injury, all of that is what's going to elevate this to one of Cody's more touchstone matches when you look back on his career. I mean, you look at Michael Jordan, what's that? The flu game everyone goes back to. All these athletes that I believe Bret Favre had one of those like 6 touchdown games on the anniversary of his father's death or when his father died. This is one of those moments, I feel like, where he really stepped up, and it takes 2 to tango. Like you guys said, Seth, I think it's even more impressive on Seth that he was able to work with this guy safely, and they could put on just a really, really fun match where that injury became the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was the match, was the injury. But yeah, I think this is definitely going to make this run very, very important for Cody.
I think it's crazy that he left WWE and for 6 years he tried to make himself. And then on a Sunday night at Hell in a Cell, all he had to do is take off that robe, and for everybody to see how purple he was, just you never know what's going to get you to the next level, and it's bringing him to another level now. It's just crazy. And I half wonder, Vince watching what Cody is doing, if he's thinking, God damn, this is pro wrestling, if he's starting to fall back in love with pro wrestling.
No.
Let's not go that far.
I could hope.
You know, I was also thinking about it. Sorry, Sneed.
Oh no, I was just gonna shit on Tom a little bit. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I should let you go then. But I was thinking about it, like, you know, as much as it, you know, enhances Cody's legacy, and we talked about that. Do you think there was how do I like phrase it? Do you think Cody felt pressured to do the match to keep that kind of spot in Vince's mind? Like, you know, I want to make sure that Vince knows, like, I'm tough. I'm here all in on WWE. Do you think he kind of had any like inkling of that mentality? Like, let me do this match so I could prove myself to Vince. Or do you think it was kind of just like a self-proving, like, you know, let me just do the match?
Yeah, I think it was a self-proven thing for him. He had to do it for himself.
I think he did it for himself, but I think in the back of his mind, he knows that Vince likes tough motherfuckers, man. Mm-hmm. Look at Undertaker. Undertaker became Vince's guy that was, wrestling through horrific injuries all the time. Like, this isn't, everyone acts like, I know Sneed brought up the question, does this set a precedent? This happens all the fucking time. Guys getting hurt and banged up. It's just Cody's was that very visible thing. You know, they're all dealing with things that we have no clue on. But I do think in the back of Cody's mind, he's like, I need to show the old man that I'm all in with this company and I'm ready. For me, like, when I look at this match, I was skeptical. I thought they were going to push Cody good. I wasn't one of those people. It's like, oh, he's going to be Stardust now that he's back in WWE. But I will say this moment solidified to me, he's going to be the fucking man there. Vince sees him as the man. And I'll go ahead and say it, man. I think it might not happen, but I think it's still on the table that Cody, if done correctly, and if they don't truly fuck this up, he could be the next John Cena for WWE. I think he could. I think he could be that good guy, the good guy that he wanted to be in AEW. He could be that t-shirt selling, all the kids love him and all the hardcore fans hate him because he's just this white meat baby face. He could become that guy.
Right. And I think it's even a better situation here because, you know, unlike Cena, who was going into Hollywood and doing all the movies and, you know, becoming a transcendent star into wrestling, I don't see Cody doing the movies. I don't see him, you know, seeing wrestling as a stepping stone. So I think for Vince, that's an even bigger thing because I always tie it back to when I was on the debate and we talked about, you know, who would you rather keep, Brock or Roman? And, you know, keeping Brock gives you that star that's going to be staying in wrestling and not worrying about going into, you know, Hollywood movies and all that. So I think if you're calling him like the next Cena, in Vince's eyes, that's probably the perfect thing because you don't have to worry about, you know, his company being the next step for someone who's going to be bigger than the brand. So yeah, I could definitely see that.
I don't think he'll become like bigger than the brand type of Cena, Stone Cold, but I think the level, as close as you can get to that level of superstar in that company now, the way Vince runs it now, I think he could become that guy. Yeah. And man, it's right now, if they keep building both of these guys, you want to talk about a uber super babyface Cody going against a uber super heel Roman Reigns out of Mania. That is a monster match. Yeah. Rhodes versus that dynasty, two dynasties clashing. I can see the poster, you know, the face off of those guys. It's larger than life. It's big. That's why I think Cody going back to WWE was such a good thing for him. It was such a good thing for AEW. I don't know, man. I think we're in the middle of a special run here. I really do.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, Cody wanted to be that. He didn't want to do, you know, what I believe what they wanted him to do in AEW, which was be heel. I mean, he wants to be that all-American babyface.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's what he's going to be.
He's getting what he wished for, what he dreamed for.
It's very, very exciting. I mean, I think he's shot a level of excitement into WWE that wasn't there.
Oh, yes.
They needed that.
They needed that bad.
They absolutely needed that.
Let me ask you guys a quick question before we finish this topic. We had all assumed at one point, you know, oh, Cody's coming to WWE, but we know eventually he'll be going back to AEW. Could he be a WWE lifer now?
It's funny you asked that because you just I had it in my head to ask something similar, Tom. I'm wondering if this monster push that he's in the middle of, you know, and you put a match on like, you know, the torn pec match that starts building in infamy. Do you think another piece to this that could help this push and help him become a babyface is the fact that Vince won't want to allow AEW to have that return of Cody Rhodes moment? because that would be one of the biggest things for AEW is 3-4 years from now, the prodigal son returns after this legendary run in WWE. I think we're going to see Vince trying to make this guy the guy and lock him down where he never goes back to Tony Khan territory.
I think that's where he's going
to
do
do that for sure.
Yeah, I think it's more than just Vince not wanting it. At this point, if you're Cody and you have this, you had this amazing run with Seth in your first, 3 months in the WWE, you're getting all the fireworks and you're getting all of this. Why would you want to go back to AEW? You know what I mean? Like, you have, sure, his AEW run was very good, but the fact is everything Cody is doing right now in his current gimmick, whatever you want to call it, and we mentioned this on RAWDOWN too, everything that he was doing is the exact same as what he was doing in AEW.
Different
the
crowds.
Fact that the fact that you could put it into WWE and it works so much better, I feel like that alone is a reason to stay put in WWE. Like, as long as you keep up, or as long as management keeps up with the good push, there's no real reason to go back to a place where, you're out of, for lack of a better term, like out of place. You know what I mean? Like, why would you go back and have to worry about turning heel when you have this whole gimmick? There's so much more potential in WWE. And like I said, as long as you keep up with presenting him as this main event star, which I think it's undoubtedly, no doubt they're going to do it. For Cody, I don't even see him wanting to go back.
I kind of see that too, but at the same time, he is a Rhodes, and Dusty was known to ramble, man. Like he'll go whenever he feels like what he's done there, he's achieved what he set out to do. I don't know if Cody has it in him to get in kind of that cruise control autopilot mode that Cena does, where Cena just comes out and plays the same song and dance. I feel like Cody he is the type where if he doesn't feel like he's knocking down goals, setting trends, and evolving in his career, I feel like he would venture out again. It's not even beyond the realm of possibility. The guy takes an NWA match down the line against Nick Aldis, and they do that three-peat again. He's got a lot of stuff out there that he could do. I do think he's going to be in WWE a long time, though.
Yeah, he'll be there for a long time, but there's that built-in story with the championship in AEW already.
Right.
He said he would never challenge for it.
I mean, imagine, 3-4 years from now, MJF is ruling the company and no one can beat him. No one can stop this reign of terror. And then the one man who never said he would challenge for a title returns to take the belt back for the company. I mean, there's so many stories there, but I think he's going to be in WWE for the foreseeable future.
And listen, we never imagined Cody leaving AEW. So
exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap up and move on?
Last thing I'll just say is the fact that I was cringing at kickouts from Cody in that match really goes to show you what type of match we saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was so swollen.
Yeah, it was getting more like bright red as he was going along. Have you seen the pictures of where it is now that it's all across his arm?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
The bruising didn't even that wasn't the shocking thing to me. It was how swollen his fucking arm was. It looked so sore and swollen.
Looked painful.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So our next topic of the evening. Now, Anthony, this is the one that you brought to the table. So if you had the ability to hit the reset button on any single current day wrestler, who would you pick and what would you do with them? Now I'll defer to you since it's your question.
Yeah. So, going into this question, I wanted to pick someone from WWE because I feel like it's easy just to, say, let's go Gunther, just call him Walter, bring back Imperium, or, Pete Dunne, call him Pete Dunne again. Don't call him Butch, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I feel like there are a lot of outliers for AEW, that there are so many people that you could take out of their element and do something within the confines of the company right now. Because that's also something that kept in mind. Like, as much as you can, say, let's take fucking Angelo Parker and make him the top star in AEW.
Right.
I also kind of considered it like within where AEW or WWE is right now, how can I take one of these guys or girls and remodel them and still make it work. So for me, if I'm revamping anyone right now, I'm going to AEW and I'm picking Andrade. Because, you know, you bring in Andrade into AEW, put him with Vicky Guerrero. And at the time, I didn't mind like the pairing, the idea of Vicky and Andrade, because the history's there, the Guerrero family, they even brought in Chavo for a little bit, but that didn't go anywhere. I guess, you know, how far can you go with Vicky and Chavo, whatever. The fact that they did nothing with him until him joining the Hardy family office killed it. There was, I mean, like, how can you go from one of the most promising stars, one of the most promising signings at the time coming into AEW? There's so much potential for all these stories just to pair him up with, and, you know, the Butcher and the Blade and Angelico and, you know,
oh God,
it was ridiculous. And the fact that he's still tag teaming with them is even worse. So if I'm booking Andrade, hit the reset button. First of all, fucking cut Jose. Who is Jose the assist? I don't need Jose on my roster. Cut the lights on him. Let him go dark. Jose's out of the question. Basically what I'm doing with Andrade is just a mix of what what WWE was doing with him, because I didn't see any problem with him and Zelina Vega. I thought if they carried on with that, it would have been completely fine. And a mix of what they're currently doing right now with Santos Escobar in NXT. I think Santos is everything that they wanted Andrade to be. You know, right now in NXT, you have Legado de Fantasma, which I think is one of the best things going on in the NXT 2.0 brand right now. You know, you have the Star and you have the tag team with them, and then you have the woman, valet, mouthpiece, whatever. So basically, I would just do that with Andrade, but I would let them run the TNT division. Don't put them up in the world title, because there's not a spot for him right now, clearly. You know, you have people like CM Punk, Adam Page, all these different names that are crowding this world title picture. The TNT title picture is wide open right now, thankfully, because this whole Sammy Guevara shit is finally over. So there is a huge spot right now where you can have a strong presence in the TNT title, this division. So who would I put in the stable? If Zelina Vega hadn't signed with WWE, obviously you pair her up with them, but that's not going to happen. So the mouthpiece, I've heard good things about Selena De La Renta. I think, you know, she's done some work in MLW. Yeah, so she could definitely be that you know, that type of mouthpiece, because, you know, Andrade, I wouldn't have him do a lot of the talking. I feel like you let someone else do the talking and let him, you know, speak for himself with his actions. So I think Selena could fill that role. As far as the tag team, it's really wide open. I don't have someone specifically to pair up with him. Obviously, it has to be a Latin tag team. I know they're bringing in Roosh from ROH, so now they're pairing up with him. I hope they don't go the route of making them a tag team, because that's also a missed opportunity of like just pairing them up and, you know, throwing them in the tag team division. Because also the tag team division is very stacked right now, so I wouldn't want to throw them in and have another instance of, well, we have another tag team that we're doing nothing with. So maybe bring in Roosh and Bandito and have them be the tag team. You could even throw a curveball and have Phoenix and Penta turn heel, and there's your huge, you know, Hispanic stable. So that could also be something. But at the end of the day, if I'm booking Andrade, don't put him in the world title unless there's a spot for him. Unless you are carving a spot for Andrade and his stable. I'd rather him just have a very lengthy run with the TNT title and run that division than have him just be another name in the world title picture.
I got to piggyback off of you because I had Andrade too.
Dope.
I'm glad I brought a backup because I had Andrade too.
yeah, me too.
My way, I'll just kind of, a lot of the things Anthony said spot on. My only changes is I love when they brought him in the suits. He had the Pablo Escobar drug cartel vibe going on.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I would keep Jose. I would bring back Chavo Guerrero as his mouthpiece. I would align him with the Lucha Brothers. I would put the Lucha Brothers not in their, I would put them in suits when they come out. not to wrestle, but like when they're cutting promos, they're all wearing suits with the lucha masks on. I would make him a world title contender. I would put him into that. Fuck it, man. Have him go after Punk. I would bring in the angle. If he's going the cartel route, they would put hits out on people. They would go after certain faction warfare, make them strong, make them go after Team Taz and disintegrate the group, make them take out Dark Order completely, build them into a truly dominant faction. Chavo there, and Andrade could be a main eventer, but it's all in the way you handle him. Like if you put him in the TNT run, I feel like that's what he's doing. But if you put him right up, have him put a hit out on Punk, take out Punk, build this really long-term feud where Punk's feuding with all of these dudes. I don't know. I think the cartel vibe of Andrade with Lucha Brothers, a very strong heel Lucha Brothers could have been money, and they were teasing it too.
They teased it, yeah.
They teased it for a while, and they never went that way. But yeah,
I was going to say the same exact thing because Andrade has been booked no better here than he was in WWE. But I love how he was brought in.
Worse.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, he's very much worse.
Such a presence. The way he just walked, the aura around him, and I missed that. Like they let it go and they just dropped the ball on it, and that's what I was hoping to see. But I'll go with my backup answer because I figured somebody else might pick Andrade. Man, I would love to hit the reset button on Finn Balor because that guy's just been a waste. That guy, if they would have been more like Prince Devitt and never let him drop that, he could be running WWE right now. The fans would be behind him. They'd be loving him. He was so aggressive in the ring. He had that presence too, and he's just been booked so weakly on the main roster both times. It's just terrible what they've done to that guy, and it's a crying shame what the hell they've done to such a talented guy.
Yeah, I mean, so Andrade was my pick. That was who I picked, and I mean, but I can come up with a backup because there were a couple more that I was thinking about. So I'll go through a couple that I was thinking. So one thing to just say, like, I love what both Chad and Anthony, what you guys said about Andrade. The only other thing that I'll add to it is take off those fucking pants. take those fucking pants off of
the Yankees pants.
They're awful.
Jesus Christ, man. Like, is there, like, on top of the bad booking that they've done, they've put him in this ridiculous, stupid outfit.
He looks like a 1920s baseball player.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But and Tom, I agree with Finn Balor too. There's a couple people that there's a lot, honestly, there's quite a few that I would hit the reset button on. But one that I was thinking about, like, I wanted to go, because I'm not a big WWE fan, obviously. I don't watch it a whole lot. But one person that I enjoyed watching, and I think it just got out of hand and ridiculous, is Asuka.
Oh, yeah.
So if I could hit a reset button and take it back, I would take her back to what she was when she was unstoppable.
You don't like her fucking over-the-top gibberish bullshit?
It makes me BRM blood red fucking mad. I hate it, man. It's so bad. And like, because I know how good she is and how good she can be. And it sucks because I think the women's division, I think they would benefit from having her, reset and take that silly, goofy shit off of her.
Remember her in NXT?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she was a fucking killer, man. She was a killer.
They built her up and they tore her down as soon as she got to the main roster. They did the same thing with Ember Moon. They let NXT build these people up that was so good. They put them on a run. They got the following, and then they just tore them apart for some reason.
Dude, I love Asuka. I loved the Asuka that they created in NXT.
Yeah,
but
I agree. This Asuka's fucking terrible. I hate her.
And I like R-Truth. I think he's entertaining. But we know what R-Truth is, and in my opinion, Asuka is just a step above what R-Truth is.
Yeah.
She is. They treat her like silly, goofy bullshit. I mean, it's not. She should be a serious contender, and I can't buy into it. One person I'll throw out there, that I think they completely dropped the ball on the main roster. Another instance where they were great in NXT. They were being booked perfectly in NXT. They came up with the entrance music from NXT. It got over, and then all of a sudden they just jerked the fucking rug out from under him. Robert Roode, man.
Mhm.
Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode to me should be a world champion. He should be mentioned in the dude can cut a fucking promo. He is your Ric Flair, MJF type of bad guy. Suit and tie. I'm better than you, and you know it. He has that vibe. His NXT entrance was one of the all-time great entrances.
Yeah.
Yep.
The spinning platform, all of the lights, the awesome entrance theme music. That guy was built to be a bad guy, and he could be so good. And his tag team partner in the Dirty Dogs, Dolph Ziggler's another guy who could be a top champion. We would buy it too if they booked it that way. They're both equally talented, but for whatever reason, they've never seen Dolph truly like one of the guys. To me, imagine a very serious Dolph Ziggler versus Roman Reigns program. I would be all over that shit.
Yeah.
Great
Dolph's
matchup.
amazing in the ring. He could be a Shawn Michaels level if they let him.
Dolph Ziggler screams professional wrestler, man.
Oh yeah. I love Dolph. Like the thing is, I feel like WWE sees him as like a situational top guy. Oh, we need someone to take out the Authority. Dolph Ziggler could do it. We need someone to win the IC title. Dolph could do it. Like he's never been that top guy to me. And I never understand it because he could totally be that top guy.
I think the reason he's not a top guy, I mean, you can blame bad booking, but I think what Vince sees in Dolph is he's not really in it. Like he's a wrestler, he's getting
Especially
a nice
nowadays.
payday,
It's true.
but he doesn't bleed, sweat and tears pro wrestling. He's got his stand-up comedy. He's kind of just going through the motions. I feel like that's a Dolph problem.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have that intangible just motivation to be the top guy.
Your Robert Roode mention is so great. Like I've been watching a lot of old Impact from like 2011 to 2013. And one of the shining moments of that entire run is Bobby Roode, Robert Roode, because he was just so able to make crowds hate him.
Yeah.
All the crowds in the Impact Zone hated him. You know, he would terrorize Dixie Carter. He would attack Sting. He would do all these things. And he was such a heel. I feel like if he was in a different situation, if he was in another setting like the NWA or possibly even the AEW, I feel like he would have that setting that is more traditional or more classic where he would fit so well. Like you said, the suits and all of that. There's something I also wanted to bring up, which was kind of a part two to this question. I wanted to see what you guys thought of it. But if you were to hit the reset button on someone and take them from the top of the card and bring them out of that spot, is there anyone that like strikes out to you? Because we always think about like people that are underutilized, put them in a better spot. But is there anyone that you would take from the top and bring them, kind of take them a few steps down?
Bobby Lashley.
You said Bobby Lashley?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
He doesn't do top of the card for me. He's not. I mean, I like him much better as a bad guy. He doesn't work as a face at all.
Yeah, I get that.
He could have been top of the card when they had the Hurt Business, but they kept fucking that up.
Yeah, it's another thing they fucked up. That was the best version of Lashley we saw.
Man,
the only name that comes out to me is like, as much as like people probably hate on me for it, like Adam Cole. I just don't. I'm one of the guys that I don't see him as a main event. Mid card, you want to put him with Britt Baker and have that be your faction?
Here's the thing with that. Was that I like Adam Cole. I think he could be a top guy. But I never heard, and maybe I wasn't listening. Maybe people were saying it. I never heard that fucking criticism when he was the champion NXT. Never heard anyone say, I don't buy it. When he moved to AEW, and they've shit the bed with him, in my opinion. I don't think they've done a lot with him.
Mm-hmm.
But was that opinion out there when he was in NXT, like to this level?
No, and the weirder thing is now he's in a company where there are guys that are more his size than there ever were before, and people are criticizing him for his size and saying he can't be a top star because of that bullshit.
Well, I think another thing is that he was with the Undisputed Era, like officially, like that was the group. Whereas now he's in AEW, he's a singles guy. He's with the Undisputed Era. He's with the Young Bucks. He's flopping all over the place. If he had more of a definitive role, if he was a part of a stable, which I think, him in the Undisputed Era, I think was a perfect spot for him, because he's with other guys that are all great wrestlers. So that's kind of the angle, is that they're all just phenomenal in the ring and they're cocky about it. Whereas if you have him, doing all you're here, then you're all going all over the place. If they definitively had a spot for him and if it fit, I feel like you wouldn't be hearing a lot of that criticism, because that's what they got right for Adam Cole when he was in WWE. And even when they brought him up for a little bit for that whole NXT run, when it was Raw versus SmackDown and NXT, they brought up the whole Undisputed Era. It wasn't just an Adam Cole thing. They made sure to bring the rest of the guys up with him. That's kind of the way I've always viewed it.
I have someone that I would take from the top of the card.
Okay.
Now, this is taking them from the top of the card as they are now. I think you could rebook this guy and make him interesting, but someone a lot of people love that he does absolutely jack shit for me is Drew McIntyre. Dude looks like $1 million, looks like a top guy. I don't buy it for a second. I just don't. The highlight of that guy's career was his Rumble appearance when he eliminated Brock and all of that. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, I know he was a pandemic era champ, never bought it, didn't give a shit. Lose the sword, bro. The sword is the corniest thing. What are you going to do? Chop someone's head off? This is pro wrestling. Stop bringing the fucking sword to the thing. It's corny. I don't buy it. Yeah, Drew McIntyre, put him to the bottom of the card.
Essentially they did by making him feud with Corbin and Madcap Moss.
I guess you're right. But isn't he getting a match with Roman, though? I mean...
Well, he set out a challenge for whoever the champ is whenever they go overseas for that pay-per-view.
Right. I think the thing that killed Drew for me, and Tom, you'll probably remember this, when they started making him like goofy and they started having him like tell those stories like, oh yeah, this reminds me of a time back in Scotland when I did this and blah, blah, blah. Fucking just be a champion. You don't have to, I understand, doing the goofy stuff, PG and all of that. Just, if they kept up with that momentum that he had after the Rumble and even leading into Mania, if they would have just kept him there, I would have been perfectly fine with it. But when they started really like merchandising him and, giving him the sword and giving him the big entrance, that's when it was like, all right, cut the legs on him.
His sword and shit.
He might as well be the berserker.
I swear, I was getting ready to say the last time the sword worked was berserker.
Dude, you're bringing a sword to the ring, bro.
He doesn't even use it.
It's like, come on, man. All right.
Are we guys anything else to add before we move on?
Nope.
All right, here we go. Final topic of the evening. Buy or sell interim titles in AEW, and should Punk have relinquished his title?
Sell, and yes. Good night, everyone.
Sell, absolutely sell. AEW needs to bring this back as well as WWE. If you can't defend your title for 30 days, you don't get to hold that title no more.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not a defending champ, you're not the champ. And it would have him stripped, and when he gets back, he gets to fight for the title again. The interim crap, I just hate it. I don't understand it. Why does a guy get to hold the title when he's out and he can't wrestle? And we won't even talk about the time with Cody when they did that for 2 weeks. Like, that was the stupidest thing ever. They didn't need to. They felt pressure because they have the battle of the belts. I think that was the only reason why they did an interim champ there, because that was no needed. He just had COVID. They knew he'd be back. But with this, Punk's going to be out more than 30 days. Strip him of the belt.
Mm-hmm.
Start enforcing 30-day rules with all belts. It makes them seem more legitimate.
I don't agree. I buy the interim title. I like that they do the interim title, and I think the only reason that they did, I think the plan with the interim title with Cody, I think there was more of a plan there. I think they had more of a plan, and then things went to shit when he didn't want to do what was asked of him.
Yep. I think Tony wanted him to be a heel, and he didn't want to do it, and he left because of it.
Yep.
I stand by that.
That's
I can surely see that.
so, and I do like the interim title because he didn't lose the title. And there's built-in story for when he comes back.
I love the interim title.
Ooh, we got a tag team match here. Let's go.
Love it. And the reason I love it is because WWE doesn't do it. It's different. Who
That's
made
true,
the
too.
rules that we can't have an interim belt? Who made these fucking rules? Vince McMahon? I want something different.
It's
This is different.
WCW fucking crap. Why can't
They didn't have interim belts in WCW. This
like
is brand
something
fucking new. This is UFC shit. You know why this is why it works in this company and why it doesn't work in WWE. WWE has been around for decades. It doesn't hurt their world title to, oh, he's hurt, have him go relinquish the belt. We'll put it on someone new. It does nothing to their belt. Their belt's been around. It's tried and true. When you start this early in a company, 3 years in, guy gets injured. Now this is totally different. If Punk blows his ACL and he's out 10 months, then yeah, strip him, get a new title. But if this is a 2 to 4 month injury, it hurts the legacy of that belt more to pull it off of him and throw it on someone. And you have this 1 week title reign in your belt's lineage than it does to have him hold on to it, have him randomly pop up and talk about being the champion, put an interim belt on someone with a long-term goal of a title versus title match. The trick is who you put the belt on. If you put it on someone and you create a really, really fucking good feud out of it, a champion versus champion pay-per-view match, Punk returning from his injury against someone who has really stepped up and became a threat as the interim champ, who you believe could become the real champ, then you've got a great story. To just strip him of that title, and we're running down, oh, damn, Jericho's got 190 some day reign. Oh, Mox has 200 some. Oh, Omega kept it almost a year. Hangman, damn, 7 month reign. Punk, week reign. 1 week, 7 days. Like, come on, man. Like, you're immediately taking a dump on your title lineage when you can just take a page out of UFC. Everyone says, this is what I love too. Hypocrites. Everyone bitches and complains and hangs their hat on those interviews Tony Khan and Cody Rhodes was doing in the lead up to AEW becoming a company where they were saying, oh, we're going to be sports centric. We're going to be sports centric. And now everyone likes to shit on them. They're just as sports entertainment as WWE. They said back months before they had their first show, they were going to be sports. They were going to be more sports oriented. And now they do something that is taken right out of the pages of MMA. And those same people that shit on them for being sports entertainment are now shitting on them for doing a sports centric storyline. So it fucking blows my mind. Make your mind up, people.
Of course, Chad would say something that would make me friggin' rethink my whole position on the thing. Only Chad can do that.
I'm just saying. I mean,
you made some excellent points.
I think it just comes down to how they go about it. And the fact that, I don't know, maybe I have to get used to the whole interim championship thing. Maybe it's, once you start to see it more often, maybe it'll grow on me. But the fact that we've seen a few in the last few months, this year alone, we've seen 2. It feels like it's too close together. Plus, I understand like the whole idea of, it's a newer title and it hurts the lineage. But at the same time, you have the opportunity to build up someone that you wouldn't necessarily have the chance to build up with an interim championship. That's why I mentioned when we did that little video when the news broke about Punk, I want to see Eddie Kingston win this. And, obviously this is going to be airing after we find out who's going to fight for the title. But I want to see Eddie Kingston win the championship, because when are you ever going to get another chance for someone like Eddie Kingston or anyone of his level, like that upper mid card, to get the chance to be AEW champion? That gives you the opportunity to take someone who's in that, upper mid card kind of, not like an Andrade that we were just talking about, someone there. I wouldn't say Andrade. I'll get to that in a second, but someone like Eddie Kingston, who he's never going to be AEW champion unless built properly. He's never going to be the champion. This gives him a shot to be that champion and take that upper mid-card status and bring it up to the main event, so that now when he faces CM Punk at, let's say, Arthur Ashe, because the story's right there, now at least, even if Punk wins, you have a solid main eventer in Eddie Kingston that, now you can buy into. The reason why I backtrack on Andrade is because you don't want to give the interim championship to someone who might be champion later down the line. You don't want to give it to Wardlow. You don't want to give it to a younger guy, because then, like you're saying,
of a moment.
Yeah, it ruins the moment right then and there, because if the plan is just to put the title back on Punk, then why do it in the first place? But if you're doing it for someone that the fans are into and they want to see as champion, you have that chance to, let's say you have like 7 main eventers, now you have an 8th, just because of that opportunity where you can take the world championship, put it on a guy that would never get it, and now you have another star.
Tom, you were very critical at the beginning. I mean, you were hard as to why you excel it and hate it. Elaborate on it, though. Why?
I just understand when a guy can't be champion, why they still call him champion. It's the 30-day rule: defend your championship.
But he hasn't been out even 30 days yet.
You're correct. I agree with that. But like, you sold me with your friggin' point, you son of a. I actually love the way they built up for how they're going to come up with the guy who's going to replace, and I think it's easily to figure out who it's going to be. It's going to be Tanahashi, because that was supposed to be the match at Forbidden Door. If they have him win the title, then we're still going to get that match with him against Punk. And I think
that's a ballsy fucking move.
It's going to be Tanahashi. Let me say, I fucking hate how they're doing this, because I think, Tom, you're the only guy on this planet who thinks a New Japan guy is going to be the champion, and you could be right after all. But the fact is, you're putting Moxley up against someone. Obviously, it's going to be an AEW guy.
It has
to be. There's no way that it could be, and matter of fact, why are we including New Japan in the first place? I get that it's Forbidden Door, but you don't need to have, Hiroki Goto and Tanahashi, who would never be AEW champion in any sense of, theoretically, realistically speaking. Why would you put them all of a sudden?
Because they still want to have a Punk Tanahashi match. And it gives them.
They can get to that, though. This is a long-term partnership. For
Tanahashi already invited him to Wrestle Kingdom. That match is going to happen. It doesn't need to be, at the expense of putting someone who isn't even in the company, putting the title on them. I guess it could lead to some interesting storytelling, but I don't know. I don't think you really need or should have someone on New Japan winning that title.
I just don't think. Here's the thing. I see Anthony's point about giving it to Eddie and Kingston, and that'll be a fun little moment because he's probably never going to hold the world title otherwise. Eddie Kingston doesn't need the world title. He's not a world title guy. As much as everyone loves him, and I love him, I think he's one of the top 5 mic men in pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. Nobody is as believable as him, but Eddie Kingston is not a title guy. He doesn't need the world title. I'd be surprised if that guy ever holds gold, any title, TNT, because he doesn't need it. When you have a guy who is beloved and over with the fans as much as he is, he doesn't need that fucking belt. He doesn't need the moment. He is a Tommy Dreamer wrestler. Tommy Dreamer was a guy who would go into the booking of he would go to Paul Heyman and be like, please, him and Sandman would argue over who is going to lose. They wanted to always be the loser because that's how you get your love as a babyface. So, and my issue with, if you just thrust a guy in like that, I feel like the only way this interim thing works for me, and I like it, but I think you have to put someone who's already been the champion.
Yeah, I was going
to put it on anyone, Eddie, Andrade, Wardlow, anyone who may be a champion or anyone who would never taste gold otherwise. It feels cheap to give a belt like this to anyone for their first time as an.
I want Jericho to have it.
Jericho Appreciation Society with the title.
I want that.
Him or Mox, I think, is who's going to get it.
Jericho needs it. Imagine Jericho having it being the first 2-time with Jericho Appreciation Society as a shitty heel. Man, and what a way, because I mean Jericho's not going to be around forever, and And what a way, what's something to hang, what's a way to go out if that is part of the way he goes out.
If you don't have Punk right now, you know, I love Mox as a champ, but Jericho as a champion, to have that braggadocious flavor to his promos, holding that gold over, it's more entertaining. Mox is another guy, and he is a champion. He's been a champion. He is a top guy, but he's another guy. If he never held that belt again, he'd be just fine.
Well, think about it this way also, like with Mox in the Blackpool Combat Club, how does that work that he's the champion, Bryan Danielson, you know, these guys were forged in battle and everything. And the fact that now you have Moxley winning the championship, that's why your point about bringing in Jericho as the champion is phenomenal, because we're at a stage right now, you know, think of how everything's lined up. You know, we're getting an interim champion, you need to put it on someone. The way that the roster is lined up, Jericho is perfect for that because you're building up this stable and Jericho is that head guy. There's no one challenging him right now. So fuck it, put the title on him. Whereas you put Moxley up against him, I guess you could do a Moxley versus Danielson. That would be my only thing, is you break up Blackpool Combat Club already based on an interim championship. It's not worth it. I don't love Moxley as champ, but it's probably what we're going to be seeing.
Here's what I think. I don't think Danielson's even really hurt right now. I think they're just using that as an excuse to keep him out of this.
You might be right about that.
Could be.
You might be right about that.
Could be.
Just to say, no, he's only going to be a week or two. He's fine. Don't worry about him.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound hypocritical because I'm sitting here talking about Eddie and Mox are guys who don't need the title. Obviously, Jericho doesn't need that title either, but he's one of those guys. By being a champ and holding that title, it's perfect. Like, it's a perfect accessory to his just pompous bullshit.
He would be insufferable as the champ.
So
It'd be fantastic.
Out of all the stories, it benefits that one the most.
Yes.
Imagine him being champ and like going and being like, I'm gonna teach you guys how to be champs. Like it's just teaching them. I don't know. It just seems like
he could be like Steve Sports Entertainment. You know, he could play on only a sports entertainment.
The AEW Galaxy Championship there.
Exactly.
The Wizard is a champ.
What is it?
The Wizard.
Wizard. Exactly.
I want more fireballs.
I agree. All right. Anybody have anything else to say before we get to our round robin question?
Nope.
All right, Chad. I think it's
all right. Round robin, and this is just not a long diatribe. Just give your quick rapid fire answer. Edge being jumped by Judgment Day. Was this a good, fresh booking idea, or was this stereotypical WWE, let's break up a faction before it gets legs booking?
Good fresh booking idea.
You think it's fresh, Tom?
I say stereotypical.
I say stereotypical. I just thought they had way more legs with this. I don't think they fully got their feet under them before they did that.
I'm more interested in this faction than I was in Judgment Day.
It's fresh. Check out the RAWDOWN for my entire rant on that. It fits the story perfectly. You take out Edge, he's overshadowing Damian and Rhea. Now you have a group where there's no leader, and Finn is in a perfect spot where he can be elevated here.
I liked your take, Anthony. I listened to that today. Very, very good points. My only thing is everything you said could have worked and had so much more impact if it had 6 more months under it. If it had just more under it, God, it would have been so good if you would have been bought into this well-oiled machine and then they
if we had more time, I could tell you why not, but just trust me, the fact of having Edge taken out early makes it so much more impactful for Finn, Damian, and Rhea to have no one overshadow them. I see where you're coming from, maybe a month at tops, but 6 months would just do so much to the story that it just wouldn't work properly.
Last thing I'll say, Rhea, Damian, and Finn, 6 months from now, will have gained nothing from this. They'll be in the same boat they were in before this started.
I don't disagree at all.
It all depends on that Edge. That I gave them the Edge story. After this, it all comes down to what happens after it, and you could be completely right on that.
They'll all still be mid-card. They'll all still be doing the same shit. None of them will be elevated from this.
All right, Anthony, tell everybody where they can find you before we go.
Yes, you can find me here on the Tavern on the RAWDOWN every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the video version, and on Wednesdays is when the audio version drops. You can also follow me at the Independent Epicenter. That is Indie Epicenter on Twitter and Instagram. I'm not really posting on the Titantron anymore, but you could follow me at the Titantron podcast on Instagram, at Twitter at _Titantron. Classic Match Classroom. You can view my library of all those episodes on YouTube and everywhere else where you can find that. And yeah, that's just about it for me.
Sweet. Well, it was always great to have you here, man.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Great
vital member of the team.
Yeah. So good to have you.
All
right, guys, that's going to wrap us up for this edition of the Turnbuckle Debate. Make sure you guys are tuning into the turnbuckletavern.com for all of your tavern needs. We have a couple of seconds. I guess we'll let Tom, even though he's get your shit in, bud.
Yogi Fit Kid on Twitter and Instagram. Check out Turnbuckle Sessions with me and Mike and Ace from this week. We do a deep dive into MJF. You won't want to miss it.
All right. That'll wrap us up. Court is dismissed.